This week, the highly anticipated PRS John Mayer Signature Silver Sky guitar became available for pre-order, and the online guitar community are losing their minds. I honestly don't know what all the big deal is about, why everybody's so up in arms about this guitar, because I personally think it's beautiful. Let me start out by saying I am not a PRS fanboy. I am not a John Mayer fanboy. I don't own any PRSs. I don't own a single John Mayer record. In fact, I actually hated John Mayer for pretty much his entire career up until just recently, when I've seen him do some things, do and say some things that are not quite as douchebaggery as I once thought that he was. He has finally begun to earn some of my respect, but not enough that I'm going to run out and buy any of his records. So with that in mind, I don't have a horse in this race, which might make sense why I don't understand what all the hubbub is about regarding John Mayer's new signature PRS. As far as the guitar itself goes, everybody seems to be up in arms because PRS built a Strat. Well, yeah, they built a Strat. John Mayer has been a Fender Stratocaster player for pretty much his entire career. Everybody knows that. John Mayer's relationship with Fender ended a few years ago, and when that happened, he went to talk to Paul Reed Smith, and they've been working on the design of this guitar for 2 years or a little more than that. During that time, John Mayer even went on a summer tour where he filled in for the late great Jerry Garcia with the Grateful Dead and Friends. He filled in as not only the guitar player, but also the lead singer in that band, and did a fantastic job. In all of the photos that I've seen from that tour, on stage, John Mayer is playing indeed a PRS. With the exception of one, and that was the show that he did here in Indianapolis when he was given the honor of playing Jerry Garcia's original Tiger guitar for that show. By the way, I can look out the window of the room that I'm in and just about see the venue in which that took place, because it's less than a mile from here. But he was seen playing primarily PRS guitars on that tour, and pretty much everything that I've seen him in since then, he's been playing a PRS. And since then, he's even come out with a PRS signature amplifier. My question to the entire guitar community is, when he commissioned PRS to build him a new signature guitar, what did we think they were going to build for him? John Mayer has always been a Strat player. Why would they not build him a Strat-like model? And in their defense, there are some PRS elements to this new guitar. You know, for starters, the lower bout cutaway has the traditional PRS scoop style cutaway to it, which I think is really, really cool looking. Of course, it's also got the PRS headstock. You know, a lot of people are right. It is, you know, just about everything else about it screams Fender. Rather than PRS's standard 25-inch scale, they built this guitar to the same specs as most Fenders with a 25.5-inch scale. It has, I believe, an altered body. It has a maple neck, vintage style tremolo, 7.25-inch neck radius. These are things that are typically not done by Paul Reed Smith guitars. That being said, who says they can't do it? Everybody else does. And now that you have arguably the most recognizable Strat player of the modern generation on your artist roster, building a Fender Strat is absolutely the right thing to do. A couple of things that I've seen people complaining about. They're complaining about the fact that this guitar comes with a gig bag. Number one, the first 100 of them, I believe, actually come with a hard shell case. So if you're lucky enough to get one of those, you're going to get a hard shell case. Number two, if you happen to get number 101 and beyond and you get a gig bag, I haven't seen the gig bag, but I'm willing to bet it's probably a pretty nice gig bag. And the reason why I say that is because John Mayer's old signature Strat from when he was still with Fender came with a really, really, really nice gig bag rather than a hard shell case. Yet that guitar was still upwards of $2,000. Speaking of $2,000, that's another thing that this guitar has going for it. You know, most PRS guitars, the higher end ones, you know, the custom 24s, the McCartys, all those guitars are well north of $3,000 and $4,000 for a lot of them. This guitar is selling to the public for $22.99. That in today's market, that is a very, very affordable high-end guitar. Very affordable. Nobody should complain about paying $22.99 for a John Mayer signature Silver Sky guitar that essentially is built to Fender Strat specs. And why shouldn't they complain about that? I'll tell you why. For anybody that watches this video, if you have never met Paul Reed Smith himself, I have. And what I can tell you about the man is I spent an entire afternoon with him one day. The store that I was working at, he came in for a clinic and I was tasked with hosting him. And I spent a lot of time with Paul, and I can tell you there is nobody on this planet that is more passionate about guitars and building guitars than that guy. When it comes to the science of building and designing guitars, Paul Reed Smith's brain functions on an entirely different level from everybody else in the world. I'm telling you, the guy is a savant when it comes to this, when it comes to our industry. And you know, that's why so many people love PRS guitars, because his approach to designing them is not only so much different from everybody else, but it is so refined. And he thinks about the teeniest, tiniest little things that end up making a huge, gigantic difference. One thing that he taught me, and he gives us at all of his clinics, I remember from my understanding, but one thing that he says, you know, he views guitars and their tonal qualities as subtractive, meaning that when you add a certain type of material to a guitar, for example, when you go with a bone nut versus a synthetic bone nut, or a graphite nut, you know, when you change that material, it takes away of a specific area of tone rather than adding to. And he designs, you know, that's one of his thought processes when it comes to designing guitars. And again, that's one reason why they all sound the way that they do. And also the reason why they are manufactured to such meticulous levels of quality. I have seen videos of Paul Reed Smith taking absolutely beautiful guitars that had a teeny tiny little bitty finish blemish about the size of an eraser head, and because he did not want that little blemish out in the world, he would take this beautiful guitar and run it through a bandsaw and throw it in the trash. For the record, Paul, if you ever see this video, next time you do that, please stop and send it to me. I would really like to have it, even with the finish blemish on it. I promise I won't tell anybody, and it'll never be sold or resold or anything like that. It will remain here. So all in all, I think John Mayer and Paul Reed Smith and PRS Guitars teaming up for this, I think this is fantastic. I think this gives the guitar community another option for a great sounding Strat. And again, this thing was designed based on John Mayer's favorite 63 and 64 vintage Strats, you know, based on the tonal qualities and the specs of those guitars. So I think this is a fantastic thing for everybody. This is going to give more people more options for Strat guitars that are not, again, north of $3,000. You know, Sir makes a fantastic guitar, and they make a lot of Strat-like copies, but all of those things are, again, well north of $3,000, at least the ones that I've seen. This gives us an opportunity to look at a really, really high-end Strat that doesn't say Fender on it and might have a couple of little, you know, a couple of different specs, like a 3-in-3 headstock as opposed to a 6-in line. But all the demos that I've heard of this guitar sound fantastic, and I think it's an absolutely beautiful guitar that is very well thought out for everybody involved and for any potential customers out there that might possibly be interested in a really nice Strat style guitar. And of course also for John Mayer fans, you know, who have been stuck in the Fender bubble for so long, this now gives those people an opportunity to branch out into another area of guitars, again, that Paul Reed Smith offers that a lot of other people don't. Like I said, I don't understand what all the craziness is about regarding why everybody's all bent out of shape about this. I think this is awesome. I think it's a beautiful guitar. I even would like to have one, and I'm not even a single coiled Strat kind of guy, or a John Mayer guy for that matter. For the record, just to repeat, I have a lot more respect now for John Mayer just in the last year or so than I ever did, because I've seen some things from him that have finally earned my respect. So, John Mayer, you appear to be turning into one of the good guys now if you see this. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Also, please consider hitting the subscribe button to my channel. I upload new videos every Wednesday and Saturday morning. You can also hit the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button, and you will get alerts of when I upload new videos for every said Wednesday and Saturday morning. Links to any and all of the things talked about in this video will be down in the description. Thank you so much for watching.
You know what? There are tons of young people out there that want to get involved in music and do not have the means to do so. If you are watching this video, most likely you're a musician, and many experienced musicians have tons of broken and unwanted gear lying around that they're not doing anything with. Please visit my friends at Share the Music on Facebook at the link below and learn how you and your unwanted gear can help change somebody's life.